Hey everyone, and welcome back to another SAE Government Technologies LinkedIn Live event. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Mark Pickett, and I'm the Technology Transfer Program Manager at SAE Government Technologies. Today we're here with Ingrid Tighe, the President of the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center, to discuss Industry 4.0 in advanced manufacturing. And not only is Ingrid the President of MMTC and has held several key leadership positions in her career, she's also a combat veteran. So first of all, Ingrid, thank you for your military service.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Mark.
Welcome. And so Ingrid, I would love to hear, please tell us about yourself and what is important to you about your role with MMTC.
Yeah, sure. First of all, thank you for having me on your show today. It's a real pleasure to be here. As you mentioned, I'm the president of the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center. And so what we are and what our organization does is if you take a step back, we are actually part of a national network. So the Department of Commerce has an initiative in one of its areas. It's called NIST, which is the National Industry of Standards of Technology. And they have a nationwide initiative to help our small and medium-sized manufacturers throughout the country to grow and thrive, right? The manufacturing component is about 10 or 11% of the GDP in our country. So it's a very important area for us to make sure that we are working on and helping them thrive. So as part of that initiative, every single state and Puerto Rico has a center. They have a manufacturing center like us. All of them are branded a little differently. They might be structured a little differently, but they all have the goal to include us to work with our medium and our small size manufacturers. And we work in a number of different areas. So we work with operational excellence and efficiency. So for instance, we go in, we work with our manufacturers and we help them in areas like Six Sigma, lean manufacturing. We also help our companies with things like quality standards, right? There's ISO requirements. We can help with certifications and we can help them with that process. We also are very involved with a lot of our leadership and cultural development. We all know that workforce is in short supply right now. So it's even more important that we train our existing workforce and we help them grow. So we do things such as supervisory skills. We also do a lot in the area of Industry 4.0, so cybersecurity, additive manufacturing, software systems, AI, and some other areas. And one of the other areas we do is even food processing. So we help, manufacturing food, and then you get to eat the product at the end. So that's just a little of what we do.
Thank you for that. What about beer?
Yeah, breweries, they need help too. So yes, beer is important.
Excellent. Charlie, go ahead and place that website link in the screen there. I know you had it up. Thank you for that. But that's the website there for Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center. So if you want to reach out and learn more, you can do that.
Yes.
So some of our listeners may not be entirely sure what Industry 4.0 is. So maybe you could take a minute. I mean, you did a little high level there about MMTC, but what is Industry 4.0 really about?
Yeah. Industry 4.0 in a nutshell is what is the fourth revolution. Of really, when you boil it down, it's really the adoption and the adaptation of technology and innovation right now in our manufacturing field. So as I mentioned before, it is implementing things that are going to help take your company to the next level. So a perfect example is the use of cobots and robots. A good example is you might have a company, for instance, that is short-staffed, like I just mentioned earlier, very big issue for a lot of our companies. There are a lot of jobs that are in manufacturing that are dull, dangerous, and dirty, right? These are the jobs that are very difficult for a lot of companies to fill. What a company can consider doing is putting a cobot into that location. It might be able to take the place of one of those jobs that we can't fill, work alongside a human to help augment the production, help augment the work that's taking place, and be more efficient, safe, and also, like I said, allow those workers to do some of those jobs that are more interesting and that take more thought, and that are not just manual. So it's a way to improve that. Like I mentioned, software is a great example. We have a lot of companies who have different parts to their facilities. if you use a software system that can collect the data for all the different systems that are in place, it can aggregate that data. You can boil up the trends that someone's seeing in that facility, and it allows the business leaders to then make informed, data-driven decisions about his or her business. Uh, AI, that's a huge topic right now. Everyone's talking about what is AI. AI can be used in manufacturing in a lot of different ways. It can be used in design. It can also be used in supply chain management. It can also be used, like I just mentioned, in taking that data from the software system, the ERP system, and it can also now synthesize and make some assumptions or do some data analytics on the data that you're collecting. So there's a lot of different things that I think a lot of manufacturers could use very well and very easily in their facility. But our job is to come in, educate those manufacturers and those business owners and those plant managers on what they are, and then talk about what makes sense for his or her business.
Thank you for that. So Industry 4.0 has multiple pillars or multiple focus areas. I think you touched on a few of them. I know we're talking about advanced manufacturing today. Mm-hmm. You want to touch on some of those other topics?
Yeah. Internet of Things is another one. Virtual reality. One of the cool things that I really like is those goggles that you can see. That's a way in which that you can have someone wear those goggles and they can see a plant floor. You can talk about how it might be laid out. You can even use that for instructional use. So if you have a certain manufacturing a piece of equipment, you can put those on and it might go through a tutorial or step-by-step about what needs to happen and how you operate it. And that way you don't need another person teaching the one there how to use that. So those are some of the other areas that we have.
Excellent. Mm-hmm. So within advanced manufacturing, how much do you see additive manufacturing playing a role in some of the manufacturers here in Michigan?
Yeah, additive manufacturing is huge. So for those of you who are not familiar with that, that's the 3D printing. We are seeing it in everything from little things, such as a good example was even, you talked about beer earlier, so I'll bring up vodka. There is a distillery that we have met with in the past, Valentine Vodka Distillery out in Ferndale. And a small example was they have some Italian equipment in their facility. And during COVID, some of their parts broke and they couldn't get those shipped over from Italy. So they used a 3D printer to make some of those parts so that they could be up and running again. That's like a very simple example. Another example that we've seen in some of these engineering design firms is where folks are using the additive manufacturing to prototype. So you can now, instead of sending off a design and waiting 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks for a prototype to come back, you can do that overnight and you can go from concept to reality much more quickly. On a larger scale, there's certain companies that are out there that are doing full size 10, 15 foot metal production of parts that are going in. So, with this group, especially in some of our military pieces of equipment. So you're seeing everything from small side from the very beginning to the end use for some large major parts that are going into some of our naval and our warfare systems.
Excellent. Just going to get a swig of something here from my Michigan Tech mug. It's not vodka, by the way. Yeah. So speaking of your colleagues and your team, I've already collaborated with some of your colleagues. We've talked about the Additive Manufacturing Center that we have in Sterling Heights, Michigan. We have about a 40,000 square foot facility where we're collaborating with the U.S. Army Development Command to support a project at Rock Island where they will print a combat hull at scale out of metal that will have no seams and no joints, no weaknesses. And so I think that the other vision of that center is to create some common space and some collaborative environments for the Michigan manufacturers that you serve on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. So we're looking forward to that. More information is at our website at sae-gt.org, where you can look at what we're doing there. So speaking of team members, how big is your team, Ingrid?
Yeah, we have almost approximately 75 people across the state. We are headquartered in Plymouth, Michigan. That's where the majority of our folks sit. So we obviously service the Southeast, but we service the entire state. We have regional offices that are also located over at Saginaw Valley State University. We have people on the west side of the state out of Grand Rapids. We have a team that's up in Traverse City, and then a couple folks that cover the UP. So we like to brag that we're within approximately 2 hours of every manufacturer in the state.
No, that's great. I mean, what coverage? That's awesome.
Yep.
So, listening to you talk about the capabilities, your expertise, what type of people do you hire in terms of their skill set?
Yeah, we have a tremendous group of people here with a lot of varying backgrounds. Everyone comes from manufacturing or engineering. So, given that we're in Michigan, and especially in Southeast Michigan, we have a lot of folks that have automotive background, some with aerospace and defense, but we have several engineers that are on our staff. A lot of people that have come out of manufacturing, plant managers. So a lot of different types of experience when it comes to those different areas of manufacturing. And that's what makes our team so great. A lot of these folks that are out there helping our clients have 10, 15, and 20 years experience in some situations of actually being out there on the plant floor or actually being in the engineering firm creating these things. So they have real world experience where they can now turn around and use that and help advise and guide some of our clients.
Excellent. So, what does the engagement model look like? If I'm a small business manufacturer in the state of Michigan, what does that look like? Are there virtual interactions? Is there face-to-face? Do they come to you? Do you have a facility where they can come and collaborate? Do they see you in their facilities? What does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we do a little of both. So we primarily do in-person consulting and advising or on-site instruction, in-classroom instruction. We also have facilities here in Plymouth, and we also have facilities at all those locations I mentioned before. And we even use some facilities of our partners where we can go in and do the in-classroom instruction. We do and have done a little virtual in the past. That's something else that we're exploring, though, is how do we grow that segment, integrate maybe a hybrid type of approach to some of the teaching that we're doing. As I mentioned before, with workforce being short, we know that it's difficult for a supervisor sometimes to release someone for the day to go do training when you know that you've got certain requirements that you have to meet for a client or one of the OEMs, and you can't always let everyone take off for the day to go do training. So we're looking at ways, how can we be more innovative and bring kind of a hybrid approach to our clients and more flexibility, right? And we've all learned through COVID, one of those silver linings was that we can now do a multifaceted approach when it comes to instruction and consulting.
Excellent. So as you, I think, how long have you been with MMTC now?
So I started this year in January, so just under a year. Mm-hmm.
So you've had quite a few interactions. You've collaborated with your team. What are the biggest challenges you see for Michigan manufacturers?
I would say there are 3 areas. Number one, first and foremost, talent. No matter what industry you're in, talent is a huge issue, but especially in manufacturing. One of the things that we saw that happened as a result of COVID was a lot of people left manufacturing, and we've only recovered about 65% of our workforce. So there's a huge gap in filling our talent and filling those open positions right now. So like I mentioned before, there are some ways that we can try to combat that, grow talent internally and use technology to augment that. So that leads into the second major challenge that we have, Industry 4.0, like I talked about. We know we need technology to help solve and fill these gaps, but it's daunting, right? A lot of these folks, especially if you're a smaller manufacturer, you might have limited capital, you might not have the resources or the knowledge about how some of this works. So just understanding what is available out there, how do I implement it into my manufacturing plant or my business, and then how do you use it and what's the ROI? So we can work with companies in that capacity. The third major challenge that we're seeing for a lot of manufacturers that is not only just in Michigan, but we're seeing this US wide, is the supply chain. We're still experiencing a lot of issues as a result of COVID. There are still some bottlenecks in the supply chain. And it's also helped us identify there's a lot of gaps in the US in our supply chain. So one of the big obvious ones that we've seen is microchips. We know that that's been a really tough shortage for a lot of our folks, especially in automotive. So we need to work on that. Another thing that could be a national issue is pharmaceuticals. A lot of the chemicals that are put into our pharmaceuticals, about 70 to 80% of them are coming from overseas in China. So God forbid geopolitical events, cause things to happen where we don't have access to that. We could be really in a tough situation. So those have led us working together as a national network to figure out how do we identify the supply chain issues. One of the things that we do offer here at the Michigan Manufacturing Technology Center is supply chain matchmaking. If you have a company that's out there that either needs to find a supplier or maybe needs to find someone who could prototype or do some work for you, we can go and do a search and an inquiry in our database, and we can look to see if there is someone out there that can provide that service. Or we can also put out a query, a call for a manufacturer to see if that's something that they could step up and also produce. So that's a great thing. And then we're hoping that that will, at a national level in the long term over the next several years, again, help identify a mapping, if you will, of what is the supply chain, what currently exists in the U.S., where are those gaps, and then how strategically as a nation do we try to either build or recruit companies to help fill those gaps so we can do some of that onshoring.
Absolutely. We saw huge impacts for supply chain constraints during COVID and even now. I mean, with the adoption of electric vehicles and energy storage, the materials that go into the battery, we're seeing constraints. We're also seeing supply chain coming, or supplies coming from adversarial nations. So to your point a minute ago, we need to lean forward and mitigate that by creating sources here in the U.S. or creating additional sources elsewhere. So very important.
And especially
go back to go ahead.
I was going to say, Mark, especially a lot of with your membership and a lot of the stakeholders you work with in the DoD space and defense, that's a big issue, right? Again, bringing geopolitical events, Ukraine, and now, of course, Israel and Hamas, and then you've got China and Taiwan, and issues going on with Azerbaijan and Armenia, and I mean, there's so many things that are bubbling up that, from a DoD perspective, we've got to bring more things online. You see, I think, increased production in some of the equipment and the things that we need. So for your folks out there, it's especially important that we really identify the supply chain and address some of those shortages.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have formed a consortium of companies last year as a result of a grant that we received from the Office of Local Defense Community Cooperation. And we're collaborating with that group of companies to extract scandium from waste streams in the United States. Scandium is important for high performance alloys and microelectronics and other applications, and could have, if constrained, could have impact on national security. So that's our first project. We plan to build that out and expand the effort to look at other critical elements and minerals that are important to our national defense. And we'll continue to build that out. So I want to come back to something you said earlier. One of the challenges is workforce. So, I see it because SAE International, our affiliate, also has a professional development team and programs, and we deploy learning management content through our system. And, finding talent is one thing. And retaining that talent. So that's sort of a subtopic, but also with all this emerging technology, you think about advanced manufacturing. Are we teaching our children to be technicians and engineers to be able to keep up with that tech as it is deployed in the manufacturing space? What kind of mitigation techniques do you guys employ with your clients on workforce?
Yeah. So
training and so on.
Yeah, with training. So, one of the things that we do is we have different levels of supervisory skills. So those are like the easy, no, I shouldn't say easy, but those are the like kind of the baseline types of leadership classes that we can offer. We work with partners to make sure that the technical skills such as CNC operation and welding and those things, they can work on those. And then we can come in for subsequent training at higher level. Those are really important things. GD&T, we've got, we do other kinds of reading and other skills like that. So, we have a big plethora of different classes that we offer. One of the important things too is working with our partners. So for instance, in the K through 12 space, we're trying to encourage our pipeline of students to get interested in manufacturing. It's working alongside our community colleges where they offer some of the technical training. And then we can come in and offer some of the other wraparound training. So it's really making sure that we're leveraging each other and not competing with one another in that space, because there's a lot of different aspects to the training of our folks. And you got to basically create like a career path, if you will. Number one, you got to interest folks in manufacturing. Then number two, you got to tell them, here's step one, here's step two, here's step three. And then where do you go to get it? And then how do you get the capital and the resources to fund it?
Absolutely. I also think too, as we talked earlier about our advanced manufacturing facility in Sterling Heights, we've had dialogue with Macomb Community College about how we can enhance upskills and providing additional training for individuals who already have a baseline science and technology background who may want to go on and expand their skill set. And so we're also taking a very keen look at underserved communities. So collaborating with Macomb County, where they offer transportation and they offer childcare, so we can be more inclusive in terms of deploying that workforce development and training.
Yeah. And something too, Mark, just so you're aware and some of your membership's aware too, if there's companies out there to reach out to us, we do have some resources that can help with the funding of some of our training. So one example is called the Global Epicenter of Mobility. It is a grant opportunity that's come through the Economic Development, if I could talk, Administration. It's for 11 counties in Southeast Michigan, and it's for companies that have a certain percentage of their work that's in automotive, that's dealing with the transition into electrification, for underserved communities, minority, women-owned. So there's different parameters, but one of your companies might qualify for that funding. So I'd encourage them to reach out and find out. We also work with our workforce development agency. We are a big partner with the Michigan Work System around the state. So every so often there is a grant application for Going Pro, where a company can get up to $2,000 per employee for training such as ours. A lot of our stuff qualifies for that. So there's opportunities out there. So I would say, reach out, give us a call or send us an email. We'll connect you to one of our business solution managers and we can find out, what kind of opportunities are out there.
Excellent. I want to go pro too when I grow up. So I'm looking forward to that. So I know I have a couple of colleagues in the audience, Tracy Hockenberry and Steve Sternicki. I think what Ingrid just described in terms of the grant and in the 11 counties, I think that could be really good information to put in our next newsletter with the consortium members of Defense Automotive Technology Consortium that we continue to support. So we'll do that. I bump into manufacturers in the state of Michigan from time to time, and they have developed strong processes and strong customer base and in the commercial arena or the commercial sector, and want to translate that capability into the government space or the defense space. Can you speak a little bit to how you might coach and prepare? Because one of the things that pops into my head is cybersecurity compliance with NIST 800-171, right? Yes. And I think a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it's IT, and I check a couple boxes and I'm good to go. And it's a little bit more robust than that. Can you talk about the challenge of many Michigan manufacturers transitioning to government business?
Yeah, I would say that's, what I would say is that's something that we can assist with. We do have someone on our staff who is a cybersecurity expert who can help and advise with that 800-171 certification. They can go in, we can come in, do an assessment, tell you where you are, and help give you that roadmap to get you so that you're compliant and have that ability to win some of that defense contracting. The other piece of it is whether you're making something for automotive or you're making something in the defense space. You're feeling the pinch, right? You're feeling the pressure to improve your profit margins or to decrease your cost, right? And so a lot of what we can do to make you more competitive in bidding for some of these opportunities, right, is to reduce your cost. So things like bringing us in and doing Six Sigma, bringing us in for lean help. That's all helping you with saving money and making more money. And then again, you can now you can be more competitive against some of those other folks, maybe some suppliers in the ecosystem to win some of those grants with OEMs, or not grants, but some of the work with OEMs. So that's something to think about. We can help improve your business so that you can be more competitive for the contracts.
Excellent. That's great work.
Mhm.
So Ingrid, your background, your experience, your leadership is very impressive. I'd like to take a minute and discuss a topic that is important to us both, and that's diversity, equity, and inclusion.
Mhm.
I'm part of SAE's CEO DEI Council. As a combat veteran, the president of MMTC, as a
Mhm.
woman, what does DEI mean to you?
Yeah, so this is an important thing to me and to our organization. One of the things that I hope that I can do through my position is influence other women and other veterans and minorities to get involved in manufacturing. I hope that I can be a role model to other young women and let them know that there's great opportunities in this field. I always tell people if you had asked my 17-year-old self what I would be doing in life, I would have never said, I'm going to be a soldier when I grow up and I'm going to work in the manufacturing field. But the one thing that I was, and this is the advice that I give to people, no matter what your age, but especially the young folks, is be open to opportunities. You never know what's going to present itself. And my story started when I was a teenager, when my dad recommended I look into ROTC as a way to fund college. And my first reaction was, heck no, I'm not going to join the military. I said, no, 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 think about it, think about it. I ended up doing it. I loved it. I got a lot of great experience. I traveled the world. And it was really a great platform and foundation for the rest of my career. Same thing, manufacturing, worked alongside a lot of manufacturers and got to start going into a lot of manufacturing facilities through my work in economic development. And then this opportunity came up to continue to work in this field, and I've loved it. So I would just say that, if you're out there and you're interested in this, I would highly recommend it. And I would just encourage other people to, be those role models, help mentor folks, encourage. You have to be more intentional when it comes to recruitment, right? You got to cast your net wide. You got to really try to maybe push some folks who might not be interested at first glance, at first blush, at some of these opportunities. And the last thing is we've got to train, right? We've got to be very intentional about creating mentorship opportunities for high school students, for college students in our underserved and some of these other communities that might not get access. So I would say you can do things today, like start an internship program in the summer and bring in some students from the local high school, create a relationship with the schools that are near your business. I would say, try to hire some college students. So there's a lot of little things that you can do to start creating the pipeline today that's going to be helping us in 10 or 20 years.
Fantastic. You're a great role model. If any of you in the audience are like me and you have a daughter, find this recording and share it with them. I think it's important for young ladies to see people like Ingrid in positions like hers. So
thank you.
Fantastic. I think we're going to transition now to take some questions, if that's all right.
Sure.
With you. Again, ask questions via the comment section in the LinkedIn Live user interface here. This is a good one. Modeling and simulation. Do you provide simulation modeling services for analyzing and improving processing in manufacturing facilities?
No, but we can work with our partners to help do that. So yeah.
Excellent. I think we touched upon it early in the program, but we have somebody here that probably has a sister company or an affiliate in another part of the country. I think you mentioned you're part of a national network. Could you maybe just go over that once more?
Yeah. So what I recommend is if you are not located in the state of Michigan, but you would like to learn more about resources in your state, the easiest way is to Google or to look up on your search engine, put in MEP, which is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, and then put your state. Because like I had mentioned before, every state has different models. As an example, in the state of Indiana, Purdue University, they're the group that runs the system throughout Indiana, and Georgia Tech in Georgia. Some states, they have their local wing of government. So just put in the state that you're looking for and Michigan Extension Partnership. It should pop up and you could get that information.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe we had a couple of folks join late, but I think it's worth repeating. How would a manufacturer get in touch with MMTC? I think we had the website link popped up on the screen.
Yep.
Is there another way or?
That's the fastest way. If you put in that website, you can get our phone number, either call us and we can connect you, or through email. we could look at what geographic region you're located in and get you connected to one of our regional managers and get you wired right in.
Excellent. And then here's another one that I think we covered, but let's go ahead and hit it again. It may be a little bit lengthy answer, but what kinds of services does MMTC provide?
Yeah. So I'll go through some of the laundry list. So we have lean manufacturing. So we can have give you a lot of different help, and we have a lot of different classes in that category. Six Sigma is a really big class for us. So we have all the different levels of Six Sigma certification. We also offer quality, so different things with ISO standards and certification. We can help you in that area. We offer growth services, so we can help you with costing and finance. We also offer Industry 4.0, so we can help with software systems, ERP, robotics, cobots, additive manufacturing. We have courses and consulting in those areas, virtual reality and augmented reality. We offer leadership courses and cultural training, so things like supervisory skills as an example. We also offer assistance with supply chain. So again, I mentioned the matchmaking services is another thing. And we even offer food processing. So if you're in that space or you know someone who could use some assistance, we can help in that area too.
Excellent. If people in the audience are shy, don't be. Please put your question in the comment section. We'd love to hear from you and address your question. I think it's worth mentioning, Ingrid, that we're both subrecipients on a new grant. It's just been announced here recently. We're supporting the prime contractor, which is the University of Michigan Economic Growth Institute. It's around electric vehicles and energy storage. And we have a number of pillars and initiatives in that activity to include workforce development around energy storage and charging. And we're looking forward to collaborating with you and the other subrecipients as part of that consortium, which is called the Michigan Defense Resiliency Consortium. If anybody has any interest in learning more about that, please reach out to me. I think my email was displayed. There it is again on the screen. If you have a question that you didn't want to publicize on this forum, go ahead and send the question to me, and I'll make sure that we get back with you. But I want to thank Ingrid once again for being here, sharing your time with us. You're a fantastic role model. I think the things that you're doing across the state of Michigan are fantastic, and certainly a lot of beneficiaries of the work that you do.
Thank you, Mark.
So here's another question. Yeah, sorry. MMTC, can you partner with MMTC for providing services even if my company is not located in the U.S.? It's located in Europe. That's a good question.
Yeah, so we are focused on U.S. That's our mission and that's our funding. But if you have, say, a sales office or engineering or some sort of affiliate that's here in the U.S., we can work with that. But we don't do the work in Europe.
Okay, very good.
Good question, though.
It is a good question because, as we know, we have a lot of companies in the state of Michigan that might have parent companies and on
so if you're a foreign, they have a foreign subsidiary here or an office or a plant. Yes, we can work with them.
And I'm sorry, Ingrid, I cut you off as I was giving you accolades. I want to give you the floor again before we depart.
Oh, no, I just wanted to thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your kind words. It's been a pleasure to work with you. Thank you.
Excellent. Everybody have a great and safe afternoon, and look forward to seeing you here again in the not too distant future. Take care, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.